Hi everyone, it's Liam here, the head of PE from Bosworth Academy. And here's a video on one or two different training runs that you could do to stay physically active throughout the lockdown. Now, let me be clear that any form of physical activity is clearly going to be beneficial. So this is kind of aimed at people who, rather than just being physically active, might want to build their fitness, set themselves a target. So it might not be for everyone, but hopefully you will find it helpful for those of you who are in that prior category that I said. Right, as I talk through some of these runs, I will be talking about working at different intensities. Now, intensity is very personal to you. So, two people could go out and say run an 8 out of 10, and they're running very different speeds depending on their fitness. So, when we're talking about as we go through these things, if you can think like one is kind of very, very, very light walking. Okay, as we move into kind of 4 or 6, we're beginning to get out of breath. You can kind of hold a conversation, but you don't want to be saying too much. When we move to kind of 7 and 8, it's becoming, I suppose, comfortably uncomfortable. We can hold the effort we're working at, but it's very difficult to talk in sentences. When we're going to 9 and 10, we're kind of one-word answers. We don't want to talk, and we're completely out of breath by the end of that. So bear those in mind as we talk through these different runs. Right, the first one we'll look at is hill reps. Now, for the hill, we want to find a hill that obviously goes uphill, but it's not that steep that we can't keep our form. So we need to be able to keep our running technique going all the way up it. And what we would do is maybe start with like a 5 to 10 minute warm up of light exercise, and then you might want to do 6, 8, 10 hill repeats where we're running hard. And on that scale we looked at before, maybe like a 7, 8 out of 10. So we're out of breath, it's becoming uncomfortable. We're working for 45 to 60 seconds. When we get to the top of the hill or a set point on the hill, we simply walk back down to the bottom. And our rest, if you work for 45 seconds, you might rest for 90 seconds. So spend like 90 seconds going back down. But again, you can play around with how far you run up the hill, how long you rest for. And at the end of this session, you want to again do like a light jog cool down of maybe like 5 to 10 minutes. This next one, a 6 times 3, is where you run for 3 minutes, running hard for 3 minutes with 90-second recovery, and you'd complete that 6 times. So again, on that scale we looked at before, we're looking at running kind of 7, 8 out of 10. So we can't really talk in long sentences like one-word answers. I've put there like a 5k effort. So if any of you've done like a really hard 5k, you can't really talk throughout that. So again, you will proceed this by like a 5-minute light jog just to get yourself ready. And then you get into your first 3 minutes, so running like a hard 7, 8 out of 10 pace for 3 minutes. And then for rest, you can either walk, you can either jog at a slower intensity, or you can stand. And then you're going to perform that 6 times. Now, it's quite a hard session, this, so you might want to start earlier on with maybe doing 4 lots of 3-minute efforts or 4 lots of 2-minute efforts. Again, it's something you can play around of, but what we're looking at is when you're actually working the 3-minute or the 2-minute, whatever you choose, we're actually doing that quite hard. It's like we couldn't sustain that for maybe like 15, 20 minutes. Hard for 3 minutes, and then you rest for 90 seconds and however many repeats you want to do. This next session, the Mona Fartlek, is my personal favourite running session. It's very, very hard, but again, it's very rewarding at the end. Again, you will proceed the run by a 5 to 10 minutes slow intensity warm up into it. And then the Fartlek session is kind of an interval session, I suppose, where what you do is you do 2 sets at 90 seconds, 4 sets at 60 seconds, 4 sets at 30 seconds, and 4 sets at 15 seconds. And what you do, the 90 seconds, you run hard. Again, we're looking at maybe like 7, 8 out of 10 intensity, quite a hard intensity. You don't want to sustain it for much longer than 90 seconds. We run hard at the steady pace for 90 seconds, and then we rest for 90 seconds. And again, the rest, we might do a light jog or a walk, and then we go back into another 90 seconds and repeat that 90-second interval twice. So it's 90-second work followed by 90-second rest done twice. We then repeat that 4 times at 60 seconds. So you would work hard for 60 seconds and rest for 60 seconds on a repeat of 4 times. Then you do the same at 30 seconds and the same at 15 seconds. So again, it's a period of high intense activity followed by the exact same interval of rest. Now, when I was training for my marathons and I was feeling very, very fit, I have run marathon, half marathon, 10k, 5k, etc. I would try my 90 seconds to run at the pace I would run my half marathon in. And then when I would recover, I'd be looking to run at marathon pace. When I went on to the 60 seconds, I would try to do that at my 10k pace and then recover at my marathon pace. 30 seconds I would look at doing my 5k pace, so now I'm running quite hard, and then recovering at my marathon pace. And then for the 15 seconds I would simply run as fast as I possibly can, but I was quite tired by then. As I say, it's a brilliant run. At the end of it, you should do a cool down, like a 5-minute cool down, 5-10 minute cool down afterwards. But it's an absolutely brilliant session, and again, you can play around with the intensities that you run at on there. Now into a tempo run. A tempo run is when you're running at a pace that it says in there comfortably uncomfortable. So on that scale of 1 to 10, we're not getting to 8. We might be like the 6 or 7. So we're running hard, but we can sustain it. The way we do a tempo run again is you might warm up into it, so run easy into it, and then look for a block of time where you're going to run at that pace. So yeah, a run that I would maybe do is like a 10-minute warm up at an easy pace, run 20 minutes at my tempo pace, so I up my speed into that comfortable and uncomfortable zone, and then come down into like a 10-minute easy recovery. Again, what we're looking at here is just stressing the body in that slightly higher intensity, where we need to concentrate and think about how hard we're running rather than just getting out there and running. Well, the final one I'm going to look at is just the easy run where you just get out there and move. You're not worrying about how fast you're running. You're not looking at your watch for your tempo. You're just getting out there and then sort of enjoying it. So try to keep the effort down, and then you might run for a little bit longer. But again, the intensity is not the key. It's just time on the feet, getting out there running. All right, so that summarises 1 or 2 different runs that you can do. As I said at the start, any running is clearly good, but for those of you who are a little bit more performance related, so whether that be trying to beat a 5k PB, maybe in a park run, or you're kind of playing sports, it's important that we spend a little bit of time running hard, so we're going to be stressing our fast twitch muscle fibres, and also a little bit of time running slowly, so we can develop our slow twitch muscle fibres. And a combination of that is going to mean we're ready for any outcome on the sports fields we do. Now, in terms of the runs, the hard runs, the fartlek sessions, the intervals, 6x3s, whatever you're choosing to do, I would only recommend them maybe at the start, putting them in once a week and then building around some slow runs around that. You also need to make sure as you're running, you give yourself plenty of time to rest and recover. So if you do a hard session one day, you might take the next day off. You don't want to be doing too much. Those of you who maybe have been inactive and starting from quite a low base, then I would recommend maybe getting some walking, some running in before we try to attempt those harder runs, because obviously if we build too quickly into intensity and volume of training, we can clearly become injured. But I hope that helps, and if you've got any questions, please feel free to get in touch with me.